what's up, Kyle here. If my voice sounds different, it's because I have a new camera, and the sound quality on here is much higher than my old one that I used. Anyway, this is a video I want to talk about the PG era of WWE. You know, a lot of people. Well, I made a video kind of similar to this a couple of months back, talking about how even though PG is the problem, it's not the main problem with the WWE. And I do plan on making that video on improvements like seeing WWE, like I did with TNA. So basically, this video here is to tackle the main PG problem or spectrum. You know, a lot of people that like WWE, you know, the way it is, being PG, or what the internet wrestling community likes to tag them as, PG defenders. You know, they always say, you know, hey, WWE is PG back in the 80s just like they are now. You know, if they're not, you know, if they were PG back in the 80s and they were really successful, you know, why complain about it being PG now? Or, you know, WWE was only TV 14 because they were losing the Monday Night Wars. They had to go 14 to beat out their competition, WCW. All true statements and facts. However, for those people who bring out those points, you have to stop using it as an excuse for WWE being at times as lame as it is. Reason being, you have to understand something. The wrestling, even though yes, WWE is PG now, like they were in the 80s, the main difference is this: the fans. Two totally different generations of fans. The fans of the 80s, you can't compare and expect the fans of today to be like fans of the 80s. Wrestling as a whole, the business has changed. It's not as profitable as it was in the 80s, but America is not, you know, as it was back in the 80s. You know, television was not the good, you know, wholesome, clean, you know, family-friendly, you know, TV shows that you had back in the 80s that we have now. We don't have that anymore. It's over. So what you did, what worked and what you did to connect with the fans in that timeline, you got to come up to date and connect with those fans up here. You can't do what you can't go back into the cookie jar and reach back into the past and what worked in the 80s and expect to attract a fan base, a large fan base, and keep them in tune here today. And you can say, well, WWE's targeted towards the kids. Kids today are different than what they were in the 80s. Kids today, they don't give a crap about PG stuff. Most kids nowadays are watching, playing some of the most violent video games out there, like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. They're watching some of, you know, they're watching some of the biggest, you know, most violent, you know, TV shows like The Walking Dead. You know, stuff that have, you know, some realism to it, some violence, some action. Kids today are into that stuff. They're not going to watch or want to watch a wrestling show that's trying to be like the second coming of an ABC family sitcom. I mean, it's just not going to work. I mean, the kids today are not into the same stuff of what kids in 20, 30 years ago were into. So that excuse needs to go out the window. You know, I think that, yes, even though WWE did go TV 14 for the Attitude Era, but don't just completely just become so family friendly and oriented to children that your older male demographic is fading. You know, is fading away. You know, I'm not saying go back and do the whole sexual innuendo stuff that they used to do back in the day, being scandalous back in the Attitude Era. But my God, don't be such, like I said again, a second coming of an ABC family sitcom show either. It needs to be a balance. That's why I use WCW as a perfect example. Because when WCW, they were a PG-based product, but they had edgy storylines. They had good, they made stars, even though 80% of them came from WWE. But you get the point I'm making. They made compelling storylines and stars and whatnot, and they still kept it within a PG-based product. WWE can do the same thing, but the problem with WWE is that they're lazy as hell, and they feel like because we have no competition, because we are, you know, the epitome of the wrestling business, we can just be lazy and sit on our asses all day. And that's what I really hate about that. And yeah, you can say all day, well, you know, it's about the kids, you know. They sell the wristbands and the John Cena t-shirts. Okay, what happens when those kids start reaching the age of 15, 16 years old? They're going to look at the product and be like, man, Cena's whack. You know, like, hey, I used to like him, sure, I liked him when I was 8, but now that I'm 15, 16, this dude's whack. I'm looking at somebody else, or I'm being tuned out of wrestling. What are you going to do then? So you mean to tell me, WWE, that you're consistently going to, as the little boys, as they get older and they reach a certain age, are you going to push them away and kick them to the curb and just push them away from the product like you have with us older wrestling fans down through the years, just because you just constantly just want to target the kids, the kids, the kids? Yes, it's the kids that get the John Cena t-shirts. Yes, it's the kids that get into the arenas or want the video games and the toys. But think about this here, WWE. It's something that a lot of people, they bring out, but they don't focus on. Who pays for the tickets for the kids to be there in the live shows? Who pays and gives out cash money for the kids to buy the WWE toys? Who gives the kids money to buy the John Cena t-shirts, the wristbands? It's the adults. It's the adults. And I don't want to sound like a male chauvinist, but wrestling is, just like MMA, it is a male-predominated sport. Okay? Not to say that you can't get women into the product, you can't get kids into the product, but my God, don't kick to the curb your core fan base that made the business as big as it is, which was the male demographics. Because even in the 80s, you had men like in Hulk Hogan. You had male Hulk Hogan, grown men that were fans of Hulk Hogan, fans of Randy Savage, Macho Man, fans of Ric Flair, and some of the older wrestlers in the 80s. Now, you don't have any grown man that likes any of the current stars we have today. The John Cenas, the Sheamuses, the Randy Ortons. Well, maybe Randy Orton or CM Punk every once in a while. But, like I said, different generation. And so I think WWE really needs to get rid of this PG stuff. It does limit the product. It waters down what they can do storyline-wise. Yes, we've been getting some edgy stuff between Punk and Undertaker at WrestleMania. But I'm talking about year-round. Not just that little 3-month snit of build to WrestleMania. I'm talking about all year round, 365 days a year. WWE needs to give the wrestlers more freedom. They need to loosen up. You know, like I said, make it for everybody. And I just think for WWE, it's not fair for you to just push away your older demographic fans just to cater to kids. And you can only cater to those kids for so long because they're going to grow up and get older. So what are you going to do? As they grow up, you push them aside too, and then target the next generation of kids coming up and just keep repeating the same cycle. After a while, the ball's going to fumble. You're going to have to try something new. You guys give me your thoughts on the WWE PG era. There have been good moments in the PG era in 2000 and, you know, from 2008 to now, the product's been PG. There have been a few good moments. In my opinion, I think it's been more negative than positive moments. We had some good feuds, some good matches. I'm not going to take that away. But this is just my opinion on the subject. I want to hear your thoughts in the box below. Subscribe. Peace.